Well, every championship season is rewarding, but for you, coaching your son and just coming so close the year before, how rewarding was it to get the championship this past year?
You know what? We just had a really good group of young men. And we had a combination of, we had a really good senior class and a lot of late bloomers in our senior class that as juniors the year before were guys who were playing quite a bit and contributed but weren't starters. And in a year's time, our guys really did a nice job of working. And, a lot of that was spent outside the building because of what happened to us last March, being, having to go remote. And so we put together some things that challenged our guys to work out at home as well as some of the local places that you could get into because nobody could enter our building. So our guys did grow, got stronger, got bigger, worked hard, committed, and I think that helped us as well as we went through this season. But it was really rewarding. We had a good group of young men between our sophomore class, our junior class, and especially our seniors who came together and were really unselfish and really rooted for each other. And each week it was a new guy who would step up and make plays to help us to victory.
And then going through some of these players there, Abram, a very, very good quarterback, one of the better quarterbacks in C1 last year. Yeah. What did he really do for you guys as a player?
Well, prior to that, we had a kid by the name of Dalton Freeman who was a two years junior and senior. He rushed for 1,000 yards as a quarterback and was a 3-year starter for us. He was a 4-year starter for us because he started a couple years as a freshman. So Abram had to step in and fill some really big shoes, and Dalton was a two-time All-Stater at C1. But Abram brought to the table a kid who was really well-versed throwing the football. We knew that as a freshman because he had to start a game when Dalton was injured, that he could throw the ball relatively well. And he has a nice understanding of secondaries and how those things play. And he just made plays for us and took care of the football as well, too. Didn't turn it over, threw very few interceptions, had 25 touchdown passes and close to 1,800 yards throwing. We're not traditionally a throwing team, but when you got confidence that you got a kid who can throw strikes, it's a lot easier as a play caller to make those calls on whether it's first down play or second down play or third down play.
Well, then you had a pretty big target to throw it to as well as your son Benjamin, 6'6", 195. You guys haven't had a D1 kid since Matt Harrion, and your son's already getting a lot of attention for a sophomore. Where has he really grown as a player, and what's his overall kind of potential when you look at the next 2 years?
He's got good athleticism. He runs relatively well and jumps well. He probably from his freshman year to his sophomore year, he became a better route runner. He likes to study that. As all kids, he watches YouTube, and you can find just as much of that stuff as you'd like to on YouTube, etc. And he catches the ball well. It's something. A lot of people ask me, he's so athletic. Why isn't he playing quarterback? Well, if he chooses to go off and play in college, which is what he aspires to do, there's only one guy that's going to play the quarterback position. The other guys hit the transfer portal. But wide receivers and tight ends, there's a lot of times schools that are using 2 and 3 and sometimes even 4 tight ends. And then wide receivers, there's about half a dozen guys that are working. So he really likes to catch the football, and I've been playing catch with him as probably with a ball, especially football, since he could stand. And so he has nice hands.
Is he your oldest kid then, or?
He is our tail ender. We got 2 girls play volleyball for Wayne State College, and they're one who's finishing her career, and then one who's in her second year over there.
So they made him tougher, I'm guessing, right?
You know what? He's he got drug along to a lot of games, so he's been able to watch a lot of things athletically, and so I think that's helped him too in terms of just knowing how to react and act in ball games. Because he watched his sisters play, not football obviously, but a lot of basketball over the years, and because of my job, he was at a lot of practices watching and listening.
So coaches haven't been able to eyeball or go on the road in a year, so they haven't really been able to see him. Have you been able to have a lot of coaches ask questions or talk to you about Ben just based off his film and height and weight they see on paper right now?
I've had a number of guys inquire, but it's really been relatively slow. He's been contacted by Northern Illinois, and in terms of a Power 5 conference school, the only one who's been in contact with him, which was kind of a surprise to us, was Northwestern. And Ben really likes that program now. He's followed them and Pat Fitzgerald and the success they've had, and then the institution in terms of the education you could potentially get there. And then probably after that, Morningside College out of Sioux City, who's arguably probably the best small school in the nation when it comes to football, has been in contact with him for at least the last couple of years. So we'll see how everything goes, and when we get out of this pandemic, how things pick up for him. But hopefully he can continue to play well in his other sports and continue to develop and work hard.
And then Colton Fritz, I think you mentioned he might have led the state. And how many tackles did he have for you?
Colton Fritz had 161 tackles last year, so I would think he's probably in the top 3 or 4 or 5 in the state. You know, he's just a magnet to the ball. He gets there and he's always a little upset too. You know, a tremendous kid off the field, but an animal on the field. He's a guy that probably runs a really average 4.9 40, but when you put him on the field, that 4.9 turns into a 4.7. You know, for anybody who's played football before, they always played with one guy who was that kind of guy. And Colton is that kind of guy. He really reads well too. You know, we expect our guys to read offensive linemen and their technique, and then obviously know down and distance tendencies, and then the scouting report really well. You know, and there's a reason why he had a lot of tackles, not just because he's got a great nose for the football, but because he knew the game plan, he knew what the offensive tendencies of the opponent were, and he knew how to read the offensive guard or the center that he was having to read on any given play. So he's a kid that if he decides to play football, I think could be a really pleasant surprise for people who recruit him and give him a shot.
And then Dawson, big physical lineman, 292 pounds today, just over 6 foot. I mean, how physical and big of a lineman has he been for you the last couple of years?
You know what? He last year as a freshman, he very well could have played, but we were just loaded up front. We had big, physical, strong kids. So this year he was a two-way starter for us. You know, he's projected. I could see him as a nose guard at the collegiate level because he's a two-gap guy. You can control the center and control both A gaps. He's got great natural strength for a young guy, and he's actually young for his age. He's about a half a year to almost a year behind some of the guys. He should be really a ninth grader this year. The thing that sets him apart, and people don't realize this until they watch him, he plays basketball. He's a good basketball player. He's got tremendous feet, and that's why he's down here with us, because a lot of 6 foot, 290-pound kids are
not put together.
Dead weight, and he is not. And so if he grows, literally, if he grows 2 or 3 inches, he's a Division I guy for sure. Now, if he stays 6 foot, he could be a 1AA or a FBS or whatever it is, FCS, or a Division II guy. I don't know. But really wants to play football, really enjoys playing football, and likes playing physical too.
Yeah, it's probably hard to have a freshman, even at your level, succeed just because you have so many veteran kids that are a part of your program.
Yeah, we rarely have a freshman that's ready to play. Or if they come up are, we can spot time them a little bit, but traditionally in our program we've been able to have 60 to 70 guys out, and so usually it's mainly juniors and seniors. Depending on the year, we have to call on some sophomores to play. This year we had 3 or 4 sophomores that were ready to play, including the 3 guys that I've got down with me.